No, I actually like Caitlyn, and I'm just being real and truthful. She has brought millions. I wouldn't be surprised if it's billions of eyes onto the W and onto women's sports.
Although Sophie Cunningham has never been one to hold back, her most recent disclosure regarding Caitlyn Clark is shocking the WNBA. You also need to keep in mind that if it weren't for the WNBA by now, she might be playing. Put an end to the rumors that you're leaving or going abroad. Sophie simply provided an honest explanation that goes beyond any report on injuries. What she revealed highlights the unrelenting pressure, unrealistic expectations, and harsh realities that the league's top player must deal with. This is about survival, not excitement. Take a seat as we explore Sophie's startling revelation and its implications. The voice that won't shut up. Sophie Cunningham has taken the more difficult route in a league where being silent is frequently rewarded and being honest has a cost. Sophie has established herself as the WNBA's most unvarnished truth-teller, while the majority of players adhere to prepared responses and cautious PR spin. And she is actually footing the bill. She was penalized thousands of dollars by the league in 2024 alone for speaking out loud what many players only mutter in private. It all began with a single comment on a TikTok post criticizing dubious officiating, which took $500 out of her paycheck. Or is it sluggish? Perhaps it's pointless. She then lost an additional $1,500 due to a podcast piece that revealed contradictory calls. Will I get penalized by the WNBA? No, you were fined for the first episode. I was fined $1,500. What? I ask. This is only the beginning, I think. Like, you're not serious. Furthermore, when she dared to accuse the league of overt partiality, not even the penalty amount was revealed. In the hopes that the message was obvious, they simply smacked her with another fine and moved on. Quit talking and go play. Sophie, however, won't participate in that game. She continues to speak. She poses a serious threat to the status quo because of this. Consider it. The annual salary range for WNBA players is approximately $64,000 to $242,000. A $1,500 punishment is comparable to losing 2 weeks' rent or a portion of their off-season salary for many athletes. Almost anyone would be silenced by such a monetary penalty. Nevertheless, Sophie continues to persevere, endure setbacks, and inform supporters of the true state of affairs within the league. She is no longer just another athlete expressing annoyance following a difficult game because of this. She has emerged as the league's unofficial whistleblower, a player prepared to face penalties, criticism, and possible career setbacks in order to expose the truth. And the reason her voice is so significant is because of her reputation. Fans are aware that Sophie's words are not merely conjecture or a desperate attempt to gain attention. This is a first-hand account from a person who works in the grind. Her choice to continue speaking up despite the consequences lays the groundwork for everything that comes after. This is the reason her remarks regarding Caitlyn Clark are so significant. Sophie isn't making up a story. She's bringing to light difficult facts that the league would prefer to keep hidden. It is impossible to ignore her voice because of this. Was Sophie alluding to unspoken pressure, then? Or claiming that Clark is being held back by the league? Avoid blinking. Everything is altered by the response. The revelation regarding Caitlyn Clark. The most important question surrounding the WNBA has remained the same for weeks. When will Caitlyn Clark return? In an effort to get a specific timetable, reporters have questioned league officials, coaches, and players. Every day, fans skim through updates in search of clarification. However, they have been given ambiguous statements rather than precise replies. We'll see next week, day by day. There is currently no update. Only conjecture has been stoked by the silence. Then, on her podcast, Sophie Cunningham destroyed it. She said one line that instantly altered the. Also need to keep in mind that if it weren't for the WNBA by now, she might be playing. The impact of their topic without any drama or build-up. If it weren't for the WNBA, she may be playing. Tements was like a thunderclap. They weren't coming from an outsider speculating from the sidelines or a fan on social media. They originated from a member of the league who is familiar with the harsh realities of what it takes to compete at this level. Sophie's revelation was more than unexpected to Caitlyn Clark's millions of followers. It was concerning. Consider what Sophie said. This goes beyond Caitlyn's need for additional time to heal from an accident. It has to do with the setting she is attempting to return to. Sophie was really clear. It's not a sign of weakness or lack of toughness that Caitlyn is absent. It has to do with the WNBA's harsh standards. Caitlyn was outstanding at Iowa. She sold out venues, attracted record crowds, and raised TV ratings to all-time highs as the face of college basketball. She was a generational talent due to her range, vision, and ability to change games on her own. However, Sophie disclosed that those achievements don't always translate to the WNBA. You can't just be good here. You must be perfect. Additionally, the league will devour you if you are not prepared on a physical, mental, and competitive level. That was the shocking revelation. Sophie wasn't disparaging Caitlyn's abilities. Most people didn't want to hear the truth that she was revealing. Even a superstar like Caitlyn Clark needs more time to adjust to the pressure of the WNBA. It's a survival issue rather than an emotional one. Sophie emphasized how harsh this league has gotten by pointing out that Caitlyn could already be playing somewhere else. Caitlyn may already be on the court, wowing spectators, whether she's abroad or even back in college. But in this case, the demands are so high that a hasty return could endanger not just her season but her career as a whole. Sophie's remarks struck with such intensity because of this. She wasn't merely providing admirers with updates. Pulling back the veil on a league that might be too cruel even for its most brilliant star, she was raising an alarm. What chance does anyone else have, though, if the WNBA is thus harsh on a generational talent like Caitlyn? To find out, keep watching. The WNBA's cruel standards. Sophie Cunningham wasn't lying when she suggested that Caitlyn Clark might be playing if it weren't in the WNBA. She was drawing attention to a reality that athletes experience on a nightly basis but that most fans only see on the surface. The WNBA is more than just college basketball on a higher level. It's a completely different universe. Furthermore, good is insufficient in our cosmos. Caitlyn Clark was unbeatable at Iowa. She was unstoppable against college defenses because of her skill, range, and vision. However, the defenders in the WNBA are more aggressively physical, faster, and stronger. Every athlete on the court used to be the top players in her program. Every slot on the roster belongs to someone who fought their way through years of fierce competition in order to make it. And Sophie put it plainly. You can't just be talented at this level. You must be perfect. Fans were taken aback by her description of the league. WNBA games can felt more like rugby to Sophie than basketball. There is continuous touch. The blows are more forceful. Players freely discuss how they need armor to get through a season. Additionally, officials allow significantly more contact than fans are aware of, fostering an atmosphere where toughness is required. It is required. Imagine returning to that kind of stage following an injury. Stars are cautiously reintroduced in the majority of leagues, with time limits and more referee protection. However, there is very little room for error in the WNBA. A comeback can be stopped before it starts by a single error, a single hesitation, and the physicality of the league. Sophie was exposing that harsh standard. Caitlyn may already be back on the floor overseas. She would most likely be playing by now if she were in college. However, rushing back in the WNBA has much greater danger than a few poor outings. Re-injury, a decline in self-esteem, or even professional losses could result from it. Here's the crucial information. Caitlyn wasn't being called soft by Sophie. The exact opposite. She clarified that there is no doubt about Caitlyn's tenacity and work ethic. She was drawing attention to the extreme nature of the WNBA. The league is at its deepest point ever. The competition is intense from the starting five to the final bench position. No easy matchup or weak link exists. Every player has the ability to reveal even the tiniest vulnerability, and every possession is a war. Sophie was referring to this same truth when she mentioned that Caitlyn's absence isn't only about healing. Caitlyn's lack of heart is the reason she isn't sitting out. Because anything less than 100% preparedness is a surefire formula for disaster in the modern WNBA, she is sitting out. Players are not given enough time by the league to develop their rhythm. They must come prepared or else they run the risk of being completely engulfed. and Sophie's bombshell revolves around it. Caitlyn's predicament is a reflection of the league's development rather than merely a personal hardship. Even generational stars now need extra time to thrive in the fiercely competitive, physically demanding, and merciless WNBA. It's a harsh standard. Furthermore, it might not even be sustainable, as Sophie suggested. The two-tier system and favoritism. Biting her tongue has never been Sophie Cunningham's style. Furthermore, her criticism of the WNBA was motivated by irritation with what she perceived as a risky pattern rather than resentment. For her, the problem wasn't so much the demanding requirements of the league as it was the unequal application of those requirements. She contended that although some players received protection and cushioning, others were forced to suffer unrelenting physical abuse without assistance from officials. She described it as a two-tier structure. The most obvious instance was when JCS Sheldon drove into Caitlyn Clark and shot her in the face during a heated match. It was careless, blatant, and could have easily sidelined Clark once more. It wasn't subtle. However, the officials lowered it to tanning Titu after reviewing it. A blatant one, the kind of penalty more appropriate for a negligent bump than a potentially harmful blow. Shortly after, Marina McBride used both hands to shove Clark, causing her to fall to the floor. Just a shove, no attempt at the ball, no pretense of a basketball move. And the answer? No ejection, no major repercussions. The message was very obvious when crew chief Ashley Gloss defended the decision, saying it didn't qualify for an ejection. Clark was by herself. That inaction, was just what Sophie had long warned against. By speaking out loud about what players and spectators witnessed, she had already jeopardized her finances and reputation. She talked about how officiating tainted games on her podcast, remembering games in which some stars appeared to be shielded from harm while others suffered no respite. She gave the example of Paige Buchers, remembering a night when whistles seemed to follow her everywhere. Sophie said that you were literally unable to touch her. It wasn't resentment of Paige's skill. That was respected by Sophie. It has to do with justice. Concerning the legitimacy of a league that openly displayed partiality while claiming to respect integrity. The imbalance could not occur in Caitlyn Clark's instance.